Dolly and Jenny Lenz of Dolly Lenz Real Estate. It's great to see you both. So glad you're here with us.
Thank you.
Dolly, I'll begin with you. What we're seeing in home sales is very interesting. We got new home sales and existing home sales, and within those reports, there are some really interesting findings from building permits, and you're seeing the demand.
Oh, tons of demand. The problem is supply. It's very constrained. People aren't selling. They're staying in their homes longer. And builders can't afford really to build to the market where the demand is, because employment is so high that, you know, everybody's expensive. It's all labor that's super expensive. And getting together the land is expensive. So it is going to be a problem, but overall it's a supermarket.
Are people taking into account all kinds of things that are going on in the market, whether it's a stronger dollar or coronavirus or all these things? I mean, because basically you have what's happening is everybody's running to the safety of bonds, and you have the 30-year at a record low, the 10-year yield has been moving down. Jenny, I mean, mortgage rates right now are very desirable.
Right, mortgage rates are just under 3.5%. They creeped up a little bit since last week, but still they're at all-time lows that we've seen in recent years, which is great for millennials and first-time home buyers, because you have about 5 million millennials turning 30 this year, and that's about 5 million new buyers, right? And as Dolly said, supply is very constrained right now. You have about, with current inventory, 3 months of supply to be absorbed, and a healthy level is about 6 to 7 months of supply. So you really have to get in there and do your homework if you're wanting to buy a home anytime soon.
Yeah, and within the report today of existing home sales, I actually saw one statistic that showed the affordability or lack thereof, right?
Exactly.
We saw the median price rising 6.8%. So prices are on the rise. Obviously, you're talking about demand and the lack of supply. So, what is a person to do now?
Well, like Jenny said, I think the biggest thing they can do for themselves is get out there, get pre-approved for a mortgage, go out and look at property. What's in a picture is not necessarily what the reality is in terms of a Zillow or a Realtor.com. Go out there, go look, do your homework, do a lot of homework, and be ready to jump when that opportunity comes up.
And having that pre-approved mortgage is probably really key, because then like a potential seller will say, you know what, I think Dolly and Jenny Lenz are great to buy this place. I mean, they're already ready with their money and all that, right?
Yeah, and mortgage applications are up 40% since last month and 35.3% since a year ago.
Right.
So, you see people really wanting to buy homes, and that's going to be the story of this year: low supply and very high demand.
Yeah, you make a great point. And within mortgage apps, we always take a look at refinancing too, right? And a lot of people have been refinancing to get the better rates.
Right, exactly. And whoever hasn't should be looking at it.
Absolutely.
Right, and that's great advice, because you shouldn't miss some really low rates if you've been sitting around for a few years.
As long as the coronavirus, the good news is keeping rates low, right? Because the Fed is deciding, it's not really a time to raise rates.
And real estate is a confidence play, right? So if the Fed isn't raising interest rates, at least there's some level of comfort that mortgage rates aren't going to move.
Right, and ideally, I mean, real estate's always a great investment, theoretically, right? Goes up. So let's talk
Ken
about...
Griffin thinks so.
Yeah, tell me what's going on in the hot Hamptons, because out east here, out of New York City, about 2 hours east from here, it's an exciting place. It's the place of the stars. It's the $1 million homes. But Dolly, something exciting is happening out there.
Well, all of a sudden, I would say November till now, one big sale after another, after a long respite of nothing, right? And people didn't even know these places were sold until they closed. So it's all very quiet sales.
Right. So, for example, Ken Griffin reportedly bought Calvin Klein's house for about $100 million in Southampton's estate section. You also have, and he's been on a buying tear.
Right, billionaire hedge fund, right, manager.
Citadel.
And you have, Calvin Klein, a name everybody knows, $100 million.
Right, reportedly this week.
Okay.
And you have Marie Chantal, who's the Crown Princess of Greece, and her husband, Prince Pavlos. They just bought a $16.5 million home, also in Southampton's estate section. So, you're really seeing a lot of activity out there. And also in December, you had some activity, not as big names, but big sales.
Big sales, big
It's
numbers.
interesting because, I've gone out to the Hamptons for my entire life, and it does go in droves. It's been relatively quiet. I wonder why. Why now?
Well, I think a lot of this is, the fact that interest rates are so low makes people jump in. Even very wealthy people play an arbitrage game on interest rates. They get a mortgage and they play with their money elsewhere, right? And they make a better return. And we're also seeing sellers say, okay, I'm tired, seller fatigue. and they're saying, okay, I'm going to reduce the price a little, let's make a deal. And all of those things happen at the same time. So the perfect storm.
Right. Also, if you're buying into the market you're selling into, really, if you get a little bit less on the sale, you'll buy something for a little bit cheaper as well. So people are also, thinking about that.
What's going on here in Manhattan? I was reading in the Post. I saw a building, and I saw them trying to chop off the top of the building.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of action happening here in Manhattan. I mean, is Manhattan hot still?
Manhattan's hot, but it's a bifurcated market. It's hot in some spots, not hot in other spots. Brand new construction, new development is not so hot. There's too much property on the market, too much to absorb. But existing property is selling, and we're seeing bidding wars. So when I say bidding war, not above the ask, but 3 people bidding on the same property at the same time.
Right.
Which ultimately gets you the highest price.
Right. And we're seeing a lack of foreign buyers still, which is hurting the new development condo market. But what you were saying is pretty crazy. 200 Amsterdam, a building on Manhattan's Upper West Side, they're considering, telling them to cut off 20 stories because there's a lawsuit going on that they used air rights that weren't kosher.
Quite kosher.
It just seems like crazy. I mean, that's just crazy talk. How do you even do that? But I mean, just compare what's going on with residential versus commercial. I mean, is there a disparity there?
Well, the commercial markets are also a little sluggish, and a lot of that has to do with multifamily housing has been sluggish because of some recent rules passed to make it less attractive. So those values have gone down, but they haven't gone down enough for buyers to jump in.
Right.
And there have been a few notable sales in commercial office buildings, so that has been pretty good.
You mentioned the foreign investment and lack thereof, right? There was a time when we had a lot of foreign money coming in, Chinese money too. It seems to have taken a little bit of a break. I wonder if the coronavirus, at least that in part, definitely could be affecting our real estate market, right?
No, absolutely. If China's on lockdown, they're not really going to be coming here, especially given all the removing money from China, has been difficult in the past couple of years. But it used to be that 50% of our clients were international, and we're seeing that number way down. Almost
down. Maybe 5%.
Yeah, absolutely.
You think that's going to change? Down 5?
From 50 to 5. So 50%.
So 45% is gone?
Yes.
Does that come back?
It comes back in waves.
It always has,
right?
So it was, this bunch, that bunch.
What about what's going on? I mean, you drive down Madison Avenue. I mean, you have retail apocalypse versus e-commerce, right? There's nothing like Madison Avenue and the designers and those fantastic stores, but you see so many storefronts vacant.
And that's across the country.
Cannot afford to pay the rent. They're raising the rents.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what happens in 5-10 years?
Yeah.
Well, I think everything always rejiggers, right? So it kind of gets reset to whatever the normal number is. Owners are very unlikely to want to reset it now because it kind of causes a problem for all the new things being released. So they're saying, I'm going to take a break. I'd rather have it empty and have all the others at
and
high
another
rents.
Specialty of yours is Florida, right? Better tax rates there. Jenny, tell me a little bit about what's going on in the Florida market. I know that you're an expert down there. You guys have been doing a lot there as well.
Yeah, Miami, Naples, a lot of people are considering moving down there for half the year because taxes are just so low. There's no state income tax. The real estate taxes, especially in Naples, like we love Naples, big fans, but the real estate taxes are so low. They're just under 1% of purchase price. Acquisition cost is very low in Naples as well. But it just makes sense because people can really do their jobs from anywhere these days, and that's going to continue in my opinion. So we're seeing, it makes sense to move to somewhere with low taxes that's as beautiful as Florida.
Today, 20 degrees.
My last thought is you mentioned, Dolly, earlier about the home builders and trying to find land to even build on, and they're trying to build some smaller homes because those millennials, they don't really want the McMansions or whatever you call them, right? The home builders have done very well. I mean, I earlier today I was looking at Toll Brothers, KB Home, Pulte Home, Hovnanian, and all of which some of which are up more than 50% in the last 1 year. Your thought on the builders? I mean, what is their plan? What's good about what's going on for them?
As long as interest rates stay low, right? So as long as that's the great news in the market, I think everything else falls into place. They'll figure it out. They'll pencil it in the way they have to.
Right.
They'll rejigger their numbers. So I say that we're bullish on builders in general.
Right. And final thought, Jenny, I mean, you were talking about maybe 3, sometimes you get multiple people at least bidding. We were looking at some apartments here in the city, and the woman said, listen, you know, you better make your bid. Right. Because, and, you know, some of it is, I understand, right? You gotta, you know.
Broker hype.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta get in there and sort of hype things up.
Yeah.
But the truth is, there's bids,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. And several of our properties now, you know, we were just on the phone this morning, we have several offers, right? Again, the seller might want a little bit more than what's being offered, but in reality, you know, everything sells for a price, and people are realizing that, and we're getting a lot of offers.
And you've got 3 offers around the same price, chances are that's what it's worth.
Right.
3 independent people saying.
Right. Last quick, I just have a quick thought on cash. The percentage of people paying all cash over the last few years, has it changed?
I mean, not really, because they pay all cash, maybe at a closing, but then they refinance. So it's fluid. So it hasn't really changed.
I see. All right. Well, it's great to see you both. Dolly Lenz,
Thank
CEO
you.
of Dolly Lenz Real Estate. Jenny Lenz, Managing Director of Dolly Lenz Real Estate. I always love having you both on to give us a real glimpse into what's going on in the real estate market. Love you both gorgeous, and thank you for all your insight.